How we doing? How we doing? How we doing tonight, people? Come on. You know I couldn't stay away for long. Come on, you know I couldn't stay away from the game for long. It runs through me. It runs through my veins. I live for this. I live for this. Come on now. Come on now. I've been hip to the game. You should have known your boy was going to come back. You should have known your boy was going to come back. Listen, they tried to stop me. Don't get me wrong. They tried. Efforts were made. You know what I'm saying? Arms were put against me. You feel me? Arms were put against me. But here I stand. Here I stand with you today. Monday, May 11th. A lot later at night than what I was anticipating. But either way, I'm just glad to be here for y'all, folks. Glad to be with y'all. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get my big face on the screen. How you doing, folks? It is De La Spurs Live. We are back, baby. Back for another edition of the show. Listen, I'm so glad to be back. Work has got me running all across the world and back. So, listen, I'm just glad to be, first of all, I'm glad to be back home, right? Glad to be back home. De La Spurs studio. I'm also glad to just be back in my home. I was staying in a hotel for over last week. I was all the way in Kansas. If you know anything about me, I'm a Tennessee boy. So being all the way in Kansas is definitely a different vibe, different feeling, different energy for me. I was in a small town in Kansas, Salina, Kansas. So wasn't really a whole lot to do. No offense to anybody out there that's from Salina, Kansas. You got people out there, whatever it may be. But listen, that place is not for me. Right, I did my work, got it done, got out of there as soon as I could. let's just end it with that. Let's just end the work talk with that. But listen, I'm glad to be back here with you folks. A lot of stuff has been happening with Spurs. I haven't been able to go live because of the work. Again, you may have seen in my previous post that we may be making some adjustments to the live stream schedule due to the work conditions. But hey, I knew I had to be back on live. I got some time to go live again, right? Not the same exact live stream schedule I'm used to, but I wanted to go live. I figured I needed to go live. So here we are doing a live tonight for y'all. Hope y'all are feeling well. Monday, May 11th. Hope y'all are getting a good start to your weeks and everything. I really do. Lord knows I needed a strong start to this week, and I think we got it as far as on the work side of things. So I hope everything's going well with y'all on this Monday night. I know some of y'all probably eating dinner, already getting settled in for the night. So if you are watching this, I'm glad that you were willing to spend some time with De La Spurs before you hit the sack, before the eyelids close. Before you do go to bed, though, tonight, feel free to do this one thing for me. Like this live stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Listen, the goal is 10 subscribers. I know, mind-blowing, right? Especially compared to the other live streamers and YouTubers out there. But listen, step by step is the goal. That's what we're doing right now. That is the form and fashion how we're going to get to where we want to achieve. So every subscription counts. Every view counts. Every comment, every like, every little bit that you can give me counts at this time. So please take this time to go ahead and like this live stream. Subscribe to the channel. You should also see a link to the X channel as well. If you want to follow me on X as well, I appreciate all of those things. Like I said, it's the small things that matter at this point for me. If I can get to 10 subscribers, it means the world to me. We're already at 8, so we're only 2 away. So 2 of you viewers who are coming in to watch this, either if you're watching this live or watching this on the playback, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me before you leave this page. I would surely appreciate it, folks. All right. So, I mean, without further ado, we're just gonna go ahead and get right into it. It's a later night, so I'm not trying to take your guys' time too much. But listen, we had a game today. Tottenham playing Leeds at home, getting the draw. Listen, a lot of fans would be somewhat disappointed with the results. I'm not gonna lie. We were in the lead first. We got the first goal. We had the game-winning goal in our grasp. Just let it go to a what I would say a dumb penalty by Matisse Tell. But we're going to get into all of that, the game analysis and everything. Let's go ahead and pull up the screen now while we got it. So let's just see here. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the very first thing, 2 points missed or 1 point gain. Hey, I would take it as this. I mean, listen, I predicted this before, right? That this Leeds game was going to be one of the few games that we had points on the table for, and if we couldn't walk away with any points in this game, it would be points left. But we were able to get a draw, able to get one, not multiple points, but just one. If you ask me, I think it's disappointing from the position we were in a winning position, right? We were winning the game, right? We I would say for the second half looked like we were the better team. I would say about as far as the play, it was a little bit more even. I think both teams had some very sloppy moments. But hey, you're talking about two teams that are at the bottom half of the table, so it is what it is. But I thought both teams definitely had their sloppy moments. I don't really think necessarily any team put themselves head and shoulders above the other. And I don't think any team necessarily showed out as far as their style of play, dominating the game, anything of that nature. I think it was an even game. If you were saying to get a draw out of this game, especially in the position that we were looking at, I want to say a month or two ago, before even Roberto De Zerbi even came in, I think fans were saying a draw was needed a little bit more, but a draw would definitely be needed, definitely be helpful as far as just getting some sort of points on the board, especially at home. So it's just 2 points missed or 1 point gain. I'm going to go ahead and say that this was, all in all, 2 points missed. I know, right? It's crazy to say that, but I think with the position we were in a game-winning position from 50 minutes, which is, 40 minutes of defending, 40 minutes of football left to be played. Plus, there is, I think, up to 13 minutes additional time that was added on. So, I mean, you're not necessarily talking about, a short amount of time, but your expectations, especially at this point in the season, have to be, if you're 1 goal up going into the second half, you're going to be expected to close. So we didn't close the way we wanted to. Again, I think a dumb penalty on Matisse Tell's part, but he did get the goal, so there's a little bit of balance that we're going to analyze when looking at the individual player performances. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely say it's 2 points missed. If we would have got 3 points, this definitely would have solidified our position above the relegation zone. Definitely would have put the pressure on West Ham to get something out of their next game, which I believe they played Newcastle next. So you're talking about what would be a tough game for them as well, with that added on pressure of Tottenham being 3 points more secure than they are in this position. I think right now we're only a total of 2 points ahead of them. So if we would have got the 3 points, you're talking about sitting close to 3-4 points ahead of them, and definitely would have at least taken this battle to the last game of the season. And even in that last game of the season, right, if West Ham didn't get the result they wanted, our goal difference is way better than theirs. So you would have talking about a secure position going into the last games of the season, if not the last game of the season, versus now it's only 2 points. Either team still needs to walk away with results in all the games. I think that would have been regardless of either situation. But I digress. With us being 4 points clear, if we would have dropped the game in there, maybe West Ham would have won that game against Newcastle. You're still looking at that 1 point cushion, right? Forcing West Ham to get more than a draw in their last game. We would have been able to settle with the draw in the last game unless West Ham won their last game, which I think, ironically, they played Leeds in their last game, right? The team we just drew to. So it definitely would have made for an interesting ending. And I think we would definitely feel a lot better going towards the end of the season, especially with one of our Tottenham's last 2 games being Chelsea. We would have felt a lot better in that position if we were 3-4 points secured, because I don't think a lot of fans have a lot of confidence in us getting points in that game. But I digress. 2 points missed on my end is what I'll say. Listen, it was a hard-fought game. I don't think necessarily the players weren't trying. I don't think the manager gave up. I don't think there was any sort of giving up. I think when you just talk about teams in this position at this point in the season, with the lack of quality each team has, uh, you're going to get a scrappy game. You're going to get a sloppy game. And like I said, man, Leeds United knew how to make that game what it was. When you talk about Tottenham, as far as, especially with the record of how we've been playing, when you look at how we've been playing, you would say, oh, Tottenham head and shoulders above Leeds and would be able to get the win. But that's what Leeds United does. They drag you into that game that they play. They play a very physical, man-on-man defending game. They play a lot of knockdown ball, and they have the big, strong, tall players to do it. So Leeds was able to beat Manchester United at home this season. So it's not like they're any sort of team you can just roll over easily. I think they're a team that was ready for a fight. They're prepared for a fight. And that's exactly what they gave Tottenham. And they were able to come into this game where it was on their end, I would say definitely a tricky game. We're talking about a Tottenham team that has a swing of confidence right now, new manager, players coming back. It was definitely a tricky game on their calendar with only so many points going in. And by the way, I think Leeds United, I think they are in a way safer position than Tottenham. But let's go ahead and take a look at the table here. So 44 points to their 38. So yeah, still in a favorable position, right? I think if Leeds were to lose their last 2 games, lose their last 2 games and not getting any points, and say Tottenham does win their last 2 games, right? You're talking about us being tied with Leeds at 44 points. But I think they were in a pretty comfortable position. Still a tricky game for them, but they were able to come out with the point. And that's probably all that matters for them, is that they were able to get some sort of points out of this game. So, hey, it is what it is. It was a tough game for both teams, a tricky game for both teams, and both teams walked out with the point. So I don't think either side is necessarily going to be mad. Maybe Tottenham was going to be mad at themselves a little bit more. You were in the winning position, but if you're a Leeds fan, you're probably saying, glad to just be able to get out of Tottenham Hotspur. Get out of the toxic toilet bowl with the point. You know what I'm saying? Toxic toilet bowl is a pretty easy place to get points from, but with the recent swing in confidence, not so much. Let's go ahead and get into the starting lineups. I'll go ahead and get them pulled up here. So you can see in goal, we had Kinski, who was the man of the match today. Some very strong saves from Kinski. I would definitely say, I can't remember when that save was, but it was definitely, I think, in extra time or right at the very end of regular time against, I think it was Longstaff. Was it Sherman? I can't remember the player's name, but definitely came in, definitely made a wonderful save. Not going to say a world class, but a wonderful save. He had a bullet shot coming directly at him. Was able to get his right palm on it, just deflected out of a trajectory of the goal to get it off the underside of the bar, bounce out, and save Tottenham, because I believe that would have been 2-1 at the time, and that would have meant Tottenham lost the game. So Kinski with one of the biggest saves that we've seen probably in the last 5 games as far as Tottenham's future, what that means. So he gets the man of the match for me, as well as sofa score from you can see. In the back 4, we have Pedro Porro, Kevin Danzo, Mickey Van de Ven, and Destiny Udogie. Making that back 4 probably our strongest back 4 of what we got right now. In the midfield, we have Bentancur and Paulinho, who, again, I think solid performances for them. I don't think you necessarily look for anything stand out on the ball. I think Rodrigo Bentancur is probably the more tidy players out of Paulinho, but both of them solid performances from today's game. We had Conor Gallagher, who, again, I felt like is everywhere, right? As much as I don't think he's a number 10, I think he's a number 8, and I think the position that he's playing in right now, just trying to cover the most field that he can, is serving him the best. And I think that's honestly where Conor Gallagher is at his best, when you're not necessarily telling him to be the the dictator of the play. He's not necessarily the key integral part, but if you're talking about that pulse, the heartbeat, the feeling of trying to get a grasp on the game and trying to get some sort of traction of what you're doing, you need a player, or you want a player like Conor Gallagher out there on the field. He was out there everywhere doing everything he could to contribute. And hey, at this point of the season, right, not necessarily anything that you want to say, oh, this is the future of Tottenham, this is going to be our future captain or whatever, but you need players like that with that sort of mentality and physically able to do something like that. You need that sort of player in your squad towards the end of the season, and he's been serving Tottenham, I think, well, especially since Roberto De Zerbi's come in. I'm not sure if Roberto De Zerbi has simplified his position. I'm not sure if he listened to Conor Gallagher and said, hey, play me in a centralized position, play me as a 10, I can do this, this, and this. Or if, even though he's playing in that traditional 10 position, if his roles and what he's asked to do on the ball and off the ball may have changed into a little bit more of a hybrid role. So even though he's not the traditional 10, we may see when Xavi Simons is playing in that position. But like I said, the way Conor Gallagher covers the field, how he makes himself known on off the ball, on the ball, defensive and offensive, right? Maybe, just maybe, that's, what we need from him in that position. And even though he's in a traditional 10, he may not be playing as a traditional 10. He may be playing more of like an 8. But if we need that 8 position to cover the ground that we need, then so be it, right? Out there on the wings, we have Randall Kolomuani, who is quickly becoming one of the players at the top of the list that need to go, right? I think he's very disinterested in what's going on at Tottenham. I don't think in any sort of case in his mind he was thinking Tottenham would be battling for relegation when he signed the loan move here. I think he was just trying to take some time off from Juventus, right? Let Juventus miss him a little bit. He comes to Tottenham, maybe shows out a little bit in the Champions League, right? Show them what Juventus is missing, and then at the end of the season, go back and walk into his position, essentially. But that has not gone to plan on either club side, right? He's been stinking it up for Tottenham. I really don't think Juventus is going to miss him, right? I'm not sure how Juventus season is going so far, but if they're watching how he's playing now with Tottenham and thinking that's going to be any contribution to their season next season, I fear for Juventus. I really do. And I don't think that as well. I think Juventus is one of those big teams in Italy, sort of like a Manchester United. They're a sleeping giant. They're not really going to take the risk on any player that just isn't showing to be the levels, no matter if there's a managerial change, staff change, CEO change, sporting director change. I just don't think Kolomuani has shown himself well to Juventus in this loan stint. Out on the left wing, we have Matisse Tell, who did get the goal for today, but I thought didn't have the best game. I thought there's a lot of sloppy moments from Matisse Tell, and it just kind of felt that, not that he ran out of ideas, not that necessarily Leeds was running him into a cul-de-sac, but it just kind of felt like this wasn't the game that fans are usually – listen, I'm no fan of Matisse Tell, but there's fans out there that are constantly saying, oh, put this player in, he's giving us something, he's driving with the ball, he's doing this, he's doing that. And granted, again, he did get the goal, but just didn't really see that spark, that inspiration, that flash from him, that even very little of what he's contributed and very little of what that flash has been over the season. I didn't even think we got that this game. So, take advantage of the opportunity he got. He got the ball from a cleared corner, put it in the top corner. That's what you want your player to do. But as far as the other things he was doing on the ball, I just don't think he had the impact. I don't think he had the flash, the inspiration that so many fans claim to say that he has whenever he's playing. And then, of course, up top, we have Richarlison, who running around, pressing, yes, but as far as wanting him to do anything on the ball, unless it's a dead game, a useless goal, he's not really going to be the stand-up guy you expect to get the goal. That's you need, right? So this is our starting lineup. As you can see, an average of 6.8 for the team. Again, probably your lower performing players. You know, Matisse tells us 7.1. I probably would have given him a lower score. You see Mickey Van de Ven, he had the lower score. Who else in here? Kolomwani. Kolomwani would have probably had the worst score on the team if you're asking me. But I get it. He's an attacking player, so when he gets on the ball, able to make a move, able to be the man, that's points towards what he's supposed to be doing. But as far as the actual end product, again, Matisse Tell got the goal, but neither player has been prolific as far as their goal scoring capabilities and putting the ball in the back of the net. So I would have definitely had Matisse Tell a little bit lower, Reino Kolomwani a little bit lower. Um, yeah, yeah, I would have had my star player as Kinski as he is. So that's pretty much the starting lineups. First half versus the second half. So let me get this. Ooh, I don't know your stats. I want the statistics. The statistics. So looking at the first half, as you can see, we dominated the ball in the first half, right? I think that was pretty prevalent. We were on the ball, making Leeds defend more. Did we create those clear-cut chances? Not as much. As you can see, we only really had one big chance to their one big chance in the first half. So both teams didn't necessarily create a crazy amount of offense against each other, but were they able to get a moment where they caught the other one kind of hanging loose? Yes. Yes, we did. You can see here from total shots, we had 10 to their 3. The goalkeepers only had to make one save. That reflects the big opportunities that were in the game. So we definitely had more corner kicks, more passing. Right, as you can see there, we were definitely more involved on the ball. It had more tackles, got more free kicks. So we were definitely more about on the ball. As you can see here, look at the duels, 50-50 split down the middle. So again, like I said, this game with Leeds, they play a tough man-to-man, very physical defending game. They also press Leeds. There's a couple of moments where Leeds were pressing us, right? Not saying that we got caught out, but there was definitely a moment with Matisse Tell, I remember in the first half, you know, he's getting the ball in our defensive end, right? So he's pretty much parallel with Kinski, right? Actually, he wasn't parallel with Kinski. He was a little bit further up the field, but he gets the ball, can't beat his man, so he goes back. And that instantly triggered the Leeds press. You see one player come off the ball, one player starting to push forward to put some pressure on Kinski in that midfield ball. And you see how Matisse Tell was pretty much put into a corner. He was forced to do this sort of half clearance, half long pass right through the box, which was right on the Leeds player's head. But luckily, Kevin Danzo was there to kind of help steer the ball away, and we were able to progress from there. So Leeds, they play a physical defensive game. They like to press when they get the opportunity to, and you can see from the duels here, they were right there with us. So far as the ground duels, we were more dominant than them in the ground duels. We won more than half of our ground duels. But you see those aerial duels, right? Those aerial duels. And again, this comes from us putting pressure, putting crosses into their box, right? They dominated the aerial game, right? Couldn't really get the goal that we got from a header. We got it from a cleared corner. So that kind of lends to the fact that they were dominating in the air. We were more dominating on the ground. That's why I think we were able to maintain the possession more. So you can see there we had more players beating them on the dribble, right? As far as defending, they had more tackles. Or no, I'm sorry. We had more tackles in total. They had more tackles won. Again, I think that's more of the aerial duels and clearances. As you can see there, 23 clearances in the first half. So you can tell 23 clearances to our 23 recoveries. So you can already kind of make that connection of what the first half is like. Dominating on the ball, winning the ball whenever they were trying to carry the ball out, and pretty much recycling it once Leeds made their clearance from their half. So that was pretty much the story of the first half. You can see there again, only one goalkeeper save each, right? They had more goal kicks, lends to the fact that we were dominating on the ball, trying to create chances, and maybe had some turnovers in the offensive half. Going into the second half, a little bit more of an even game, right? Leeds had a little bit more on the ball. They had the more expected goal chance than we did. Part of that is because they had a penalty chance, but part of that, again, was that amazing save by Kinski, I want to say towards the 90th minute, right? As you can see there, they had 3 big chances to R1. So Leeds, and you can see also here on the left here, they're attacking momentum on the game. Right when they were getting their goal, they were putting the pressure on us, right? It was a little bit of the opposite of the first half, right? We were clearing the ball a little bit more. They were able to recycle it, continue the pressure, keep it up on Tottenham, and eventually we did break down, conceded a penalty, which led to their goal. Looking at the goalkeeper saves, we had to make the 2 saves. They didn't have to make any saves in that game. Granted, that Matisse Tell shot, I'm not sure if the goalkeeper even attempted a save. It was an out-of-the-box shot, so, there's only so much as a keeper you can do. You can pretty much just watch that go into the top corner. Corner kicks, we had more corner kicks, still had more passes in the second half, but as you can see there, more tackles, more free kicks, less yellow cards. Leeds got themselves dug in more into the second half, and from there, they were able to create their chances and get that goal. As you can see, big chances scored. That's just really more of the penalty that they created for themselves, not necessarily out of open play. 2 big chances missed. You have fouls in the final third. They had 2. We had 0. I think that, well, that's from the attack. My apologies. We didn't draw any fouls in their final third half. They draw 2 fouls from us. I believe one of them is the penalty. I'm not sure how that stat looks like or what's the criteria for the stat, but I'm sure one of them was the penalty shout, right? You can see here in the duels, still pretty even, right? And again, see a little bit of reverse from the first half. So you can see we dominated the aerial duels going into the second half. They didn't have to do as many aerial duels. On the ground duels, they were more dominant than we were. So literally flip-flop the first and second half, right? Second half, Leeds were dominating the ball. We were defending in our half more, clearing the ball, trying to carry it out, but not really getting anywhere. They were able to win their ground duels, right? Get those clearances and start recycling the ball. Putting pressure on our defense eventually led to the mistake. You see, we still had the better dribbling than them, so we still have players beating their man more than Leeds, but I think that's just kind of more of a quality. I'm not sure if their wingers are exactly the same level as our wingers, but either way. And then look at the defending here. Look at this. 90% of their tackles won in the second half. So you're talking about a Leeds team. Again, a physical Leeds team. They're not just any push-around team. They're not just going to, take being bullied because they're a bottom half team. They're a physical team. They're going to want to defend. They're going to want to press when they can. They try to make it a one-on-one game, and they have a strategy, or at least say we favor our one-on-one versus what you believe the one-on-one should be. And all in all, I think, with the second half, they kind of proved that concept right. I think that's how they were able to get the draw. You see there, they were putting pressure on us, putting those crosses in, right? Dangerous moments. They got some big, tall, strong players in that team. So when they're putting those crosses in more, right, those players are able to win the ball on the ground a little bit more. And they were able to put us pretty much in that same cycle of clearing and defending that we put them in the first half. So they were able to get more they were able to get the chance that they needed to get the goal and to tie up the game. As you can see here from the top, Matisse Tell, again, he got that goal that I believe outside of the box goal, that curler into the top corner, and then Leeds getting the penalty in the 74th minute after a very dumb attempt overhead. It was an overhead clearance, right? Overhead clearance attempted, because I don't even necessarily think he got the ball and cleared it. I think he mostly made contact with the Leeds player in our box, and that's what led to the penalty from Matisse Tell. So not the brightest move, not the smartest move, in my opinion. And ultimately, like I said, I think his grade on SofaScore should have been brought lower, but he did score the goal, right? He was on the offensive end. As you saw in the stats, the first half and the second half, right? We were better than them on the dribble. So he was being able to get the better of his man. But again, I think some very sloppy moments from Matisse. One of those sloppy moments leading to the goal. So I would have definitely made that a lower score, in my opinion. Let's talk about the subs. And no, we're not talking about way or Quizno. So as you can see, Lucas Bergval came on in the 81st minute for Rodrigo Bentancur, which I don't think Bergval really had any effect on the game. Came in after the goal. We really didn't draw or do too much after Leeds scored. I think it was we wanted to try to score, but I don't think we created the opportunities that I think we did to actually make that a reality. Jed Spence came on for Destiny Udogie. And then look at the big return, right? Big return for the gesture. Big return for James Madison. I believe this is his first appearance since his injury. Came on in the 85th minute plus the 13 minutes extra time. So got about a good 20 minutes out there running on the pitch, which is pretty decent. I think if I remember correctly, it was an ACL injury. So very, very tough, very nasty injury to come back to. But yeah, he was able to have decent showing. I didn't really think he did a whole lot on the ball, but boy, does it feel good to have an actual number 10 position out there playing. Boy, does it feel good to have an actual creative player with some end product out there on the field. And even though he wasn't out there for long, you just got this feeling, man, if James Madison can get on the ball and do something for us, something will happen. He is a player where it is, I shouldn't say expected, but there is a very high likelihood that there's going to be some sort of positive outcome when he's on the ball. So having James Madison come back and be able to be that force for us is great, in my opinion. I think it's fantastic. And the more that we can try to play him, especially with Xavi Simons being out, he is going to be looked to now as one of the very few, if only, offensive options we have with some actual threat, with some actual end product, right? So I'm glad he's able to come in when Xavi Simons just got hurt, literally for the same thing. I'm pretty sure he did an ACL as well. So very glad to be getting Madison coming back at this moment. Do I think he's ready to play a full 45? No. Do I think he's ready to play a full 90? No. But if we can at least try to get some flashes like that, I think he definitely can get some GA before the end of the season. He'll definitely get some GA before the end of the season. Which it is. I'm not sure if he'll be able to get a goal or an assist, but I think he can definitely get some GA before the end of the season if he's able to get some more minutes, if his minutes progress as well, right? If he doesn't come in at the 85th minute, maybe in the next game he comes in at the 70th minute. Maybe he comes in at the 65th minute, depending on how he feels, right? I think there's definitely some GA expected from him. So those were the three subs that we had. Not really, again, making any impact as far as the final bits of the game. I think James Madison probably had the most after creating that penalty VAR lookout, but we weren't able to get that to a penalty. So not really anything that is to write home about. But listen, a lot of fans are debating, was that a penalty or not? I do have a picture pulled up of here we go. So this is what people were debating. Is this the penalty, right? This photo right here. Listen, I'm not necessarily too sure it was a penalty. So you can see there in the bottom frame, I think the defender's toe just scrapes the ball. Now, if your thought process is, okay, even if the defender's toe, even if the very little bit of his cleat scrapes the ball, if you're clearing out the player or you're cutting across him in such a fashion that you completely knock him off his feet, then it should still be a penalty. So if you still have that sort of reference or you believe in that, I can still see how you want a penalty shot for this. But as far as what my understanding is when it comes to a penalty, especially in these situations where it's like the defender barely scrapes the ball, as long as the defender can get that touch and the ball changes direction, it's not considered a foul. It's not considered a foul. So a little bit of a tough one to take. I think especially if you put any other team in that position of James Madison, maybe that call will look a little bit different. Maybe VAR would take a little bit more time to review it. But all in all, I think that was the right call. I think it was no foul. And we kind of move on from there. I do have the photo as well of the Matisse Tell penalty. So as you can see here, these are just kind of freeze frames. So again, doesn't even necessarily look like Matisse Tell even got a touch to the ball, just did an overhead clearance. Was focused on the ball. Could you make the argument that the Leeds player being a little bit cheeky puts his head in a dangerous position, right? Because, I mean, I think with how the ball is falling and where it is, yes, he got his head to the ball first. But I think in any right person's mind, right, who's saying, they're probably saying this player is about to do an overhead kick, not going to put my face right where the boot is, right? I'm not going to put my temple right where the arch of his foot is when he's, unloading a kick. But either way, this was eventually, it led to a penalty. As you can see there in the screenshot, it was called a foul. They reviewed it, confirmed the foul. Bad decision, I would say, on Matisse's Tell part, especially when you look at the time, 70th minute. It's just not a smart move to do when you're in the lead in the second half of the game in your own penalty box trying to do an overhead clearance, right? If that was the case, definitely would have tried to do a little bit more of a body check, not necessarily to knock him down, but let the ball bounce, try to do some body checking, use some hands to try to get position and try to get there first. I think doing an overhead kick was just a little overzealous on his part, which eventually led to us conceding the penalty. So, listen, it is what it is. It sucks to suck that's how, again, in my opinion, that's how you drop 2 points. But, that's how the cookie crumbles. Matisse Tell, again, never really a big fan of Matisse Tell, so I'm not necessarily going to shit on him and say, oh, this is the reason why we need to get rid of him, right? But, I mean, it's bozo moments like that, in my opinion, don't contribute to the list of reasons why you should be staying on this Tottenham team. Not necessarily saying that he's a bomb and he needs to leave and he won't resort to anything as a football player. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying for what Tottenham wants to do, where the bar has been set, and obviously a bar has been set because we are in 18th place and nobody's been happy with that. But the bar that's been set by everybody and anybody around us with what we're trying to achieve, I just don't think the timing of bringing Matisse Tell into this team works with the schedule that we're on. So let that be what it is. Take that from what you want to take. But that is ultimately my opinion on Matisse Tell. He can go back to the Bundesliga. I think go to any team in the bottom half of a Bundesliga, even a mid-table team in the Bundesliga, and probably show a little bit more of himself, probably progress a little bit more, and start to grow into that player that fans say that he is. But I think with the schedule we're on as Tottenham, we don't have time for Matisse Tell. We got youngsters in the academy that are his age that could probably do a little bit better than him. So just let that kind of be also kind of the context running with this. We got players that can do what Matisse Tell is doing. He's not doing anything extravagant. He's not bringing anything to the team that a youth academy player couldn't bring to the team. So that's why I'm just saying that the schedule doesn't match with what we're trying to do. That's all. That's probably the strongest lineup you can field at this point with the injuries that we have. Polina starting, everything like that. I say that's a good. It's a solid starting lineup. I really don't think there's anything in put in that position for him. Another, I guess, the subs. Did he get the subs right? Obviously, I would love for the subs to have such an impact where they grab the game from the draw and we come out with the win, but we didn't. I'm not necessarily going to put that on De Zerbi, so I'm going to say right now he didn't get the subs wrong. Not saying he got them right, but he didn't get them wrong. Ultimately, did De Zerbi get it right for this game? I think so. I think so. I think, again, you're talking about where Tottenham is as far as where we are in the table, the lack of quality we have in this team, the injuries that we have, the players we have available. A game like this was bound to happen where you're in a winning position and you kind of blow it. This is not the first time Tottenham has done that. It's not the first time Tottenham has done that with Roberto De Zerbi. We saw ourselves in a pretty similar position against Brighton, right? So, I can't necessarily blame him for team losing 2 points from a winning position, gaining 1 point from a 3-point position. You know what I'm saying? That's not necessarily on De Zerbi, especially with how late we conceded that penalty. But you can make the argument, okay, what subs are you putting in? When are you putting the subs in? Are you giving them time and space to make the impact that we think that they can make to this game? That would be a good question for De Zerbi, right? But other than that, I don't really think he put a lot wrong. Granted, he can't put a lot wrong. There's not a lot to put wrong unless you just start players out of position and all that. But yeah, ultimately, I'm just going to say De Zerbi got this one right. Even though we didn't walk away with 3 points, we did get a point from this game, something that, again, I predicted. I was saying that we needed to get some sort of point out of this game, if not 3. But I'm happy with having 1 point in this game instead of 0. Happy with having 1 point in this game instead of 0. So let's go ahead. We're about to wrap this up here, folks. We're going to talk about, just kind of look at the table, right? Actually, let me do this. Let's pull up our last 2 matches of the season. Here we go. Let's just pull this up. Last 2 matches of the season. As you can see here, we got the table pulled up right next to us so we can check our work, right? So just kind of looking at what we have left here. We have, actually, let me do this. This might be a little bit better. There we go. So for what we have left, first of all, we have the Chelsea game, which is not going to be fun, right? It's going to be a tough game. I mean, Chelsea has not impressed a lot with their recent form and performances, but they tend to love Dr. Tottenham coming into town. they love to visit Dr. Tottenham whenever he is around. So that game is still going to be a toss-up for me. I'm not saying we get any points, but hey, this season we saw weirder, right? We got points away at Liverpool, something we've never done before. But the manager that a lot of people would classify as worse than the manager we have now. So weirder things have happened. I could see us getting a draw in this game. Again, Chelsea has not impressed, especially since their new manager, I think Rosenier, the name of their new manager. Ever since he's come in, they have not impressed in the least bit. So it is what it is. I still don't think we can get any points out of that game. I think the Chelsea players that are there, this again, it's a golfing mentality as far as where we are with their players. Their players could be going through the bad patch that they're going to, but when they play Tottenham, no, we can't lose to Tottenham. No, fuck that. We're not losing to Tottenham. Like all the players in that locker room say, hey, I know stuff is looking bad right now, but fix up. We're playing Tottenham Hotspur. We cannot lose this game. And whatever how that talks go, whatever player in that Chelsea locker room delivers that talk, it usually has a resounding effect because whatever BS they're going through, whenever they play Tottenham, either home or away, they fix up pretty fast. So it's going to be a tough game from us. If we can get a point from this game, I only expect 1. I'm not expecting much, but I do expect, a solid performance. Do I expect us to necessarily go toe-to-toe with Chelsea? No. Just, again, with the depth and the quality and mentality of player there versus at Tottenham. But do I expect us to have our moments? Do I expect us to put 100% effort? Do I expect us to look competent on the ball like there was a game plan before we stepped out on the pitch? Absolutely. So that will be what I'm mostly looking forward to, as well as getting the point from this game. And then the last game of the season, Everton versus Tottenham. This is our last home game, last game of the regular season, last home game of the season. listen, like I said, similar to this Leeds game, right? It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. One of the managers or teams you probably don't want to see in this situation is Everton with David Moyes. David Moyes has been on the Everton side right now. We're in a mid-table team that's right there on the cusp of battling for Europe. As a matter of fact, let's see. They're on 49 points. They need 53. So, I mean, technically they're not out, right? They're not out of this, especially if Brighton end up losing their last 2 games. They're not out of this necessarily. So you're looking at an Everton team right now that's still has some belief they can try to get some for Europe. I'm sure they're going to try to put their best foot forward. And then as well as David Moyes, who's been on the Everton side and the Tottenham side. He's been on the Tottenham side with West Ham, team that's battling out of relegation, trying to keep themselves above the relegation zone going into the last season of the game. And he's also been on a team with Everton who's been in this situation, who knows Tottenham is desperate for points. He knows that game is going to be a sloppy mess because either team is just going to want to walk away with points on the board. So he knows what to tell his players, how to prepare them, tell them what to expect from this game. I think you can probably also read the mind of Roberto De Zerbi and some of the Tottenham players going into that game that, hey, this Tottenham team is going to be nervous depending on what happens against Chelsea and what West Ham is doing at that time. And they may need the points to stay out of relegation. They may need to get a draw to stay out of relegation. They may need something from this game to solidify themselves to stay in the Premier League. So just stop them from doing that, right? If he's able to play the mind games a little bit of frustrating Tottenham, players falling down, slowing down the game, right? When you get to that 60th, 70th minute and it's still 0-0, then it's going to be all up for grabs. Again, I think David Moyes, he knows what he's doing in this situation. Is he necessarily circling the Tottenham game right now for Everton? No. They may be more focused on what their next game is right now versus when they play Tottenham. But you can't tell me right now that David Moyes isn't cooking up something for this Tottenham game. He's got something cooking for this game, and I'd be very surprised if this Everton team just kind of rolls over. We saw how they were with Manchester City, right? And we know what Manchester City is capable as far as their players and their manager, right? And yes, they had some bum moments. I think their player had a really bad turnover, which led to a goal in that game. But that's part of the game that David Moyes plays. He's going to sit there and frustrate your team. He's going to sit back. He's going to let you do whatever you want to do. And when the moment's right, he's going to try to strike. And if you're off your P's and Q's, if you've been resting back on your heels for the first 50 to 60 minutes of the game, when he turns the volume up a little bit on the last 30, 40 minutes of the game, your team may be unprepared for that. And as a manager, you may not be able to get that message across to turn your team to turn it on because they're turning it on, right? So it's going to be a tough last 2 games for us. It really is. You're talking about points to get. I mean, honestly, if we can get 2 points out of the next 2 games, that'd be right where I'd say I expect us. I expect us to get 2 points out of the next 2 games, whether it's 1-1 or 0-3. I expect it to at least get 2 points out of the next 2 games just based off of how we're playing and who we're playing. So, yeah, man, it's going to be a tough next 2 games, but I've definitely been given a little bit of confidence with how De Zerbi has had this team playing. I definitely think whatever training sessions, whatever he's telling the players, it is starting to seep in a little bit. It's not as surface level as him just, kind of spouting out the same things he'd be saying at training in a press conference. It definitely seems now that the players are falling into that position. They're getting comfortable with how he's playing. They're getting comfortable with what he's demanding of them. And I think, depending on how the season ends, I think De Zerbi will have a little bit of credit in the bank to go back to the owners, go back to Enoch and say, hey, I proved with this squad that we have now, He did say that we could try to win 5 games in a row. We obviously didn't, but if we can get 5 games in a row where we're collecting points, I think not as good as 5 wins in a row, but just as important as 5 wins in a row. And he'll probably be saying, talking with Enoch, if I was able to get that team to fix up this team that was pretty much dead. They were dead on their feet. Like, let's not lie. This team was dead. The fans were pretty much about to kill whatever was left, and we weren't able to get anything positive before we got De Zerbi, right? So, like, and if we did get De Zerbi, I can only imagine where we'd be now. I can only imagine as far as the football team, the mentality, the fans, the ownership, what they would be saying. I can only imagine what they're saying, what they'd be saying if we didn't get him. But we got Roberto De Zerbi. I think he's proven himself as far as, hey, the last 5 games, I was able to get us points, able to save this team for relegation, able to do better than any of the managers you hired in 2026. So I'm going to need some compensation and some players. Not saying that I need this whole 11 rebuilt, even though it does need to be rebuilt. But if he says, hey, I need an attacker that can do this, I need a winger that does this, this, and this for me, that has to be one of the top priorities of the season. And then, again, this is all if he can save us from relegation. So, and if he's able to get us points in the last 2 games, ending the last 5 games we played this season with points on a 5-game point streak, I think that would give him some credit in the bank. As far as all I'm saying, that's all I'm saying. Is that he deserves a little bit of credit in the bank when he comes to talk to these owners about, okay, what do we need for next season? What are the plans looking like for next season? What are the goals? Okay, well, if that's the case, I need this winger. Because Matisse Tell, he ain't cutting it. Kolo Muani, he ain't cutting it. Wilson Odebear, I know he's been hurt, but he ain't going to cut it for a full season. So I need a little bit more. For Charleston, he ain't going to cut it. I need a striker with a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? So all in all, I think the last 2 games are going to be tough for us. I think we can get 2 points out of them. If we get 2 points, I think, as far as my expectations, that'd be right there where I'm expecting. As far as us being safe in relegation, it's going to be a little tough. I mean, West Ham has some. They have Newcastle, which will be a tough game for them. Newcastle will be a tough game for West Ham. It's the Leeds game that I'm worried about. Because depending on where Leeds are, Leeds don't really have anything to fight for at the end of the season, right? In that last game. I think they're 6 points clear of the relegation zone. 6, 7, 8 points clear of the relegation zone. So they might just go into that last game saying, hey, let's just reserve our energy for whatever summer tour they got to do. Let's try to save our players for next season because we're going to be pretty much amongst the same battle again. I think they're probably going to be in the same area again where they're in this kind of from like 14, 15 to 18, 19. I think they're going to be around that range again next season. So they might just say, put their foot off the gas pedal and say, hey, we're just going to save this for next season. We'll go hard, first game next season, or we're going to be saving some energy for some players that are going to be doing the summer tour, right? So I think that Newcastle game for West Ham is definitely going to be tough. But if that last game of the season versus Leeds is going to be tough, I'm not sure. That depends on what that Leeds team is going to pull up, how they're going to pull up to that game. And if they're kind of just like, we don't care because the season's over, we fought our fight, we're not getting relegated, we're not going to win anything, so it is what it is. They made it to a semifinal. Yeah, they made it to a semifinal this season, so they could be saying job done, mission accomplished. Players probably got their contracts settled for next season. Managers probably have some extended life from this season. So they may just come up to that game against West Ham and just say, nah, we're done with the season, bro. Y'all can have it. And at that point, we have to be very concerned. But listen, I'm going to end the stream here, right? I'm going to end the stream. First of all, I want to thank you. I appreciate it so much. Traveling, driving to my people I'm working for. So they've been asking a lot of overtime from me. So I do apologize I've not been able to share this time with y'all, streamers and viewers, right? But we're going to get it right. We're going to get it right. Trust me. Just hang on with De La Spurs. I'm telling you, it's going to go up from here. We're looking for some investments, especially of the mobile recording kind, right? So if any viewers have any recommendations on any equipment, camera, microphones, stands, battery packs, stuff like that, cords, extension cords, anything of that nature that you want to share with me, if you do any sort of similar stuff or do any similar work with that material, feel free to throw it in the comments. Feel free to let me know. I'd be happy to take any recommendations. I am doing some shopping, so guess what? When I am on these work trips, I don't got to leave you, folks. De La Spurs will be with you the whole time. But I won't be with you for long. I am ending the stream now. Again, I appreciate everybody for joining. Before you leave, take this moment, like the live stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Tell me what you like about the content, what you don't like, what you want to see me talk about, what you don't want to see me talk about. You can talk about Spurs content. You can talk about Premier League content. Hell, you don't even have to talk about soccer or football. You can just talk about how your day was. How was your day at work? I'll be interested to know. So feel free to throw it in the comments down below. Follow me on X as well if you want to see the post content. You want to see what type of time I'm on right before I go live. X is a great indicator of that. You'll see me either rattled the fuck out and I'm just yelling at people, going at people, cursing at them, or I'm cool, calm, and collected. I may be on my troll phase, or there's other fans who are frustrated as hell, and I just come in like, is that what you expected? Did you expect any more? So if you want to see what type of time I'm on, follow me on X. That's the best indicator for that. Listen, folks, I appreciate you all again for joining De La Spurs Live. We're going to try to go live on Wednesday. Hopefully nothing crazy happens at work so I can go live on Wednesday. I appreciate your time tonight, folks, for the late stream. Until Wednesday, and I will provide you with the updates. Peace out.